Reka, where are you from?
I'm from Hungary.
Town, city, village?
It's a city called Dunaujvaros, which is right in the middle of Hungary.
And give us population?
Very similar to Harlow, exactly the same age, same population, same size.
And when you say similar to Harlow, does it feel, we talk about Harlow being a new town, does it feel like a new town?
It feels a little bit older, but it's the same age, but very much the same feeling.
And so describe, none of us have probably been there, so describe your town to us.
So it's a new town, it's built based on a factory, so the factory was there first, and they built a town to give housing to the people who work in the factory.
And what type of factory was this?
Oh, it's a steel factory.
So a lot of the people depending on steel?
Yes. I mean, most of the population of the town works in the factory or used to work in the factory. Now people coming from the capital work in the capital, they live there and go back to the capital and forced to work.
So describe your house when you were growing up.
Right, so I grew up in what they called a panelak, which is sort of like it's really hard to explain. It's like a big tile block. So you put the blocks on it, and then each block is a flat. So it was completely different to Harlow. There's not many big tower blocks in here, and yeah, that's where I grew up.
Was there places to play? Were you playing out?
Yes. Like every tower block had their own a little playground nearby, and yeah, we just used to go out on our own. You know, Mum and Dad would be at work, and we would have the key around our neck, and we just play.
Did Mum and Dad work at the steelworks?
My mum is a teacher, but retired now, and my dad worked in catering.
And what did your mum teach?
Primary school, K1.
And what about, so we've mentioned school, what were you like at school, Reka?
Oh, not too good. I shouldn't say that. I wasn't too good in primary school or high school, but then I went to university and graduated with honour, funnily.
Right, you've leapt over there.
Yes, I did.
So what type of subjects, when it came to senior school, what type of subjects did you like?
Literature, Hungarian literature and grammar, and I actually went to uni and became a teacher.
And so we'd say Hungarian literature, is there any particular novelists, writers that you
Not really. I pretty much like all of them, especially the children literature.
Any examples?
Not that people would know.
Okay, that's fair enough. And so university, where was the university?
It was in the city called Kaposvár. So it was a bit far from where I lived, so I was living in a dormitory for 4 years and attending university. Did you get a grant to go to university, or did you just Yes, I did. It was depending on your grade, so I've got a grant for the first semester, and then it was depending on my grade, but I was quite a good student in university for some reason, I don't know how, and yeah, I've got all my education paid for by the government.
Going back to home life, food, cooking.
Oh my God, Hungarian food, absolutely lovely. It's full of flavors. I'm sorry to say that I found British cooking is a bit bland. I mean, I do like a toad in the hole and a cottage pie, but Hungarian cooking it's fantastic. It's full of flavour.
Funny you say that behind Five Guys, Nando's.
I
know. Because you're not the first Hungarian we've interviewed, they reference paprika.
Yes, so that's a spice we use quite a lot in our dishes, especially in goulash. Everyone heard of goulash soup as like the traditional Hungarian food, and it's the red paprika spice, and we pretty much put it in everything.
What about summer holidays? Did you go away on holiday at all? And if so, if it was in Hungary, where would you go?
We usually went to the Lake Balaton, so it's a really, really big lake. We call it the Hungarian Sea because it's really that big. You stand on one side, you can't see the other side. So it's really good, and it was cheap and affordable at that time. Not anymore, unfortunately. There was lots of German tourists. They used to love going in there, and yeah, we would go there every summer.
So I know you don't work for the Hungarian Tourist Board, but would you say to people who say, "Oh, listen, I'd like to go to Hungary," where apart from Lake Balaton, or other places, say you should go there?
Well, obviously the capital, Budapest, definitely, Eger, Opustaszer, and what people might find is very, very cheap in there. So if you go there, for example, from England, it's quite cheap in there.
You've been to Budapest.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I lived there for 2 years while I was doing university as well.
What did you like about Budapest?
Not much, to be honest. It was a bit too big, too busy for me. I'm not really a big city girl. I much prefer smaller towns like Harlow.
Talking about Harlow for a second, because I got to know you through COVID and the pandemic, making the doilies, the
Yes.
Captain Tom doilies and other little. How did you get to do? Was that something you did as a child, or something you picked up recently?
Well, it's something it's taught in school, but used to be taught in school back in the days. So they would teach us the basic about knitting, crocheting, sewing, etc. And I sort of just picked up during lockdown and started doing it again, and started making projects for charities.
How many languages do you speak?
2, just English and Hungarian.
Okay, it's Hungarian. Now you've got a daughter,
Yes, I do. Yeah, a 4-year-old daughter called Olivia.
and does she speak Hungarian?
Yes, she's bilingual from birth, so I made sure that she knows Hungarian language, so she can talk to people back home.
And how do you do that? Is it something just at home? The 2 languages are spoken?
Yes, so Olivia's dad is British, born and raised in Harlow. So he speaks English to her, and I speak Hungarian from birth, and obviously when together we all speak English.
And has she been back to Hungary?
Yes, she has. Yeah, she has. The first time she went back, she was 7 months old, and she's been back once or twice a year, every year since.
She's only 4 years of age, and as she gets older, the sons and daughters of people who have moved to Harlow from abroad, they have different responses to those homelands. Some are really keen to know about it, some less so. What are you going to encourage her, or you'll just let it go naturally?
I think I'm just going to go with the flow. Whatever she would like to know, I tell her about it. I mean, we do read Hungarian books at home. I do teach her the traditions, but I'm pretty much going to leave it up to her how much she wants to be involved in Hungarian traditions.
And when it comes to people moving to, say, like Harlow, some communities have forged quite close links, and some people just get on with their lives as a person living in Harlow. As a Hungarian, have you gone out of your way to meet other Hungarians, or is it more natural?
It was very hard at first, because when I came 18 years ago, there was only a handful of Hungarians, and so we were quite a tight group, but there was more and more of us, and we just couldn't keep up knowing everyone. But yeah, I do have a group of Hungarian ladies who we are very close friends to each other.
Can you spot a Hungarian in England? Can you see something? I
used to be able to. It's more during autumn and winter, from their clothing, the way they dress. You can spot them, yes.
And if I went to your house, is there anything that somebody would go into your house and say, I think she's Hungarian?
Yes, there's a couple of Hungarian fridge magnets on my fridge. I love Budapest, I love Hungary, all that sort of things.
So where's home?
Well, that's a good question. It feels more like here now. I mean, after 18 years, I just feel more comfortable here. I mean, I came right after graduation, so I never worked in Hungary. So this is the life I know.